Style, so brighten up the one that you wear. Let it shine, and you just might find you lighten up the load that you bear. You know, with all the trouble and sorrow in the world, it seems like the least we can do is take that smile into the street and share it with everybody you meet. Every day, I want to take somebody's hand. Every day, every day, every day, every day, I want to make somebody know who thinks they can, that they can, yes they can. Every day, I want to try to show my brothers and my sisters, and I want to help them along the way. Every day, if they're lost, I want to show them a sunshine. If they're tossed, I want to throw them a lifeline. I want to reach out a hand to hold. Oh yeah, and let them know, there's a light down at the end of the road. Every day, I want to shake somebody's hand. Every day, every day, every day, every day, every day, I want to make somebody know who thinks they can, that they can, yes they can. Every day, I want to try to show my brothers and my sisters, and I want to help them along the way. Every day, I want to help them along the way. Every day. Aloha. Welcome to Unity Church of Hawaii. We're so glad you decided to join us this morning. Please stand as you are able, and let's sing about celebrating life. There are many ways to live your life, so many roads to choose. You decide the way to go, and here's a choice you can make. Celebrate life. Celebrate life. Come celebrate love. Celebrate all the gifts that come from God within. And surely then you will see. When you celebrate life, it's all you want it to be. When you believe in the things you do, then all your doubts depart. Look at life in a brand new way, and joy and hope fill your heart. Celebrate life. Come celebrate life. Celebrate life. Come celebrate love. Celebrate all the gifts that come from God within. And surely then you will see. When you celebrate life, it's all you want it to be. Come celebrate life. Celebrate love. Come celebrate love. Celebrate all the gifts that come from God within. And surely then you will see. Celebrate life is all you want it to be. Celebrate you, celebrate me, celebrate love, celebrate life, celebrate life, celebrate life, celebrate life.
Celebrate life. It's good to be alive. Hey, Kumu Mai, welcome to Unity Church of Hawaii, where we foster personal transformation, nurture creative relationships, and demonstrate compassionate sacred service. My name is Reverend Levitt Thomas, and it is my great pleasure to be of service this morning. Unity is an all-inclusive, spiritual, educational, healing movement of practical Christianity. And in that all-inclusiveness, we honor all the many paths that lead to an understanding of God. We also encourage everyone to discover truth and then live that truth as you know it to be. And how we get along on this journey is the use of affirmations. It's a great tool. Affirmation is a statement of truth. I think it's very appropriate that I'd like to use an affirmation that the co-founder, Charles Fillmore, used in his 94th year. So if you will, please speak after me with velocity. I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm and leap forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me. Let's take a deep breath into that affirmation. I was waiting for Mr. Fillmore to channel through me. And now I'd like to bring that affirmation alive, if you will, bring it into expression right here and now. If you will, would you please leap forth or stand as you are able, and with enthusiasm, please greet those around you in love.
Please remain standing as you're able and sing along with us our congregational hymn, Open the Eyes of My Heart. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. See you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing holy, holy, holy. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Oh, open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. See you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. I want to see you. I want to see
Thank you so much, Zamar. And it is such a joy to have all of you here. It is a joy to welcome you to this loving ohana called Unity Church of Hawaii. And I'm Reverend Tim Lytle, the senior minister. If this is your first time here or first time in a long time, it's a special honor to have you all here. It's an honor to have each and every one of you. But if this is your first time or first time in a long time, We have a kukui nut lei to give you that represents the light that you are. We also have a packet that has a free breakfast pass. And this is an awesome breakfast. You want to be in on this breakfast. So you can take that pass over there and get a free breakfast. And if you don't have time today, that's okay. Come back. When you come back next week, just bring that back with you next week and use the pass then. Because we know this is not the only time you're going to be here. We want to say to you, welcome home. In fact, let's all say that together. Welcome home. So it's so good to have all of you here. If this is your first time here or first time in a long time, would you please honor us by standing as we bring this kukui nut lei to you and the packet of information? Any new people, first time or first time in a long time? Well, let's all give ourselves a hand because we all came. And we're grateful to be here. And we have some wonderful love streamers back here who are watching us live on our website or archived. Let's give them a shaka. They may be watching on Alelo television. They could be watching on the New Thought channel or our YouTube channel. We're also broadcast on K-Sun Radio in Wichita, Kansas. We're broadcast in a number of ways, and it is such a joy to have all of you here because we know that wherever God is, there is healing, wholeness, the presence. And right where you are, God is. And right where we are, God is. So that means there's no distance between you and us. You are part of this loving Ohana. And we celebrate you. We are here to support you in your spiritual unfoldment. And we are so grateful you joined us here today. Let's give our love streamers some love. Thank you. And this is not a guest. This is someone that's part of our Ohana who comes and helps us out once in a while. Kumu Ramsay Taum, would you please stand? Let's give Kumu Ramsay Taum some love. Thank you for being here today. Kumu works with businesses to help them to understand Hawaiian culture. Kumu does personal teaching and transformation. An amazing person, and he and I have had a wonderful time connecting, getting to know each other, and he has an amazing message today because we are celebrating our 80th anniversary and celebrating the season of Makahiki. And Kumu will help us to understand in more depth and in a more spiritual transformation the truths of that. So we honor you and we thank you for being here. And we're grateful for all of you being here. Thank you. Mahalo. And Reverend Levitt is here with the news.
All right, folks, fasten your seatbelts because here we go. At 1 p.m. right here in the chapel today at 1 p.m. it is Community Talks. Please come and join the conversation at Community Talks 1 p.m. right here in the chapel. Tomorrow is Columbus Day. Yippee. The office will be closed. The staff is going to have a nice, well-deserved day off. So tomorrow, Columbus Day, the office is closed. However, although the office is closed, the chapel is open tomorrow night at 6:30 for Unity All Believers Interfaith Ministry, for they present My Favorite Church, Prison, with Reverend Tony Barron. Tony will be discussing her 30 years of prison ministry and the joy that it has been. So we look forward to that. Now I'm wondering if there's anybody in the room that can speak to the Makahiki, the 80th anniversary Makahiki.
Getting better. Okay, I'm going to come up each week and review what just happened and what's going to happen to get you all in the mood. Last week we opened it with the spiritual cleansing, and Reverend Tim gave us a great speech. Oh, but let me not make the same mistake I made last time. Yesterday we had the picnic, and the first thing I want to do is thank my committee. I don't know how many are here at this service, but if there are any members of the Makahiki committee service here, please stand. And if not, I at least want to acknowledge, thank you, Joyce, Tim, Deanna. And I was remiss in not acknowledging Cindy Hensley and Rita Littlejohn. They were the consummate organizers of the food and whatever and the games yesterday. We had a fabulous time. We didn't have very many on artificial time. We didn't have very many artificial children yesterday. But so that meant in natural time, the adults became the children. And we played games and had a wonderful time. We did a version of tug of war, which is a Makahiki game, a version of bowling, which is a Makahiki game. And we weren't going to do throwing the spears at the chief until Rita and I got a hold of some water balloons. So I'm pleased to announce that not only did Tim evade all the water balloons, the 3 that did hit him did not pop. So he is the chief for at least another year. Woo! So this upcoming week is a little slower one. Please pick up your tickets if you have not. I'll be down at Connection Central. And I also want to talk about this. This is a small kind donation thing that we came up with. If you would like to honor the church for happy anniversary, or if you would like to honor someone who is still living or remember someone who has passed away, use this envelope or connect with me down at Connection Central. We will be gathering the names through the month, and then on October 29th, when we have Honoring Our Past, we will have those list of names of people who are being honored and remembered. So thank you very much. Aloha.
It is so good to be here. And I want to tell you, Malama Pono is a prayer group. Mary, would you raise your hand? And Juliet, Malama Pono, they would be happy to pray for any concerns that are coming your way. So if you have surgeries coming, going into the hospital, you can call our front office to let us know. That way Reverend Levitt and I can also know so that we can follow up. And if you know of someone who's been missing in action, you wonder, where is so-and-so gone? Let us know, because we'd like to connect with them. And also, this coming Saturday, we are celebrating the life of Eric Butler. Eric Butler joined the church just recently in the first class of new members that I brought in. Eric Butler was the director of the World Peace Plan and led our Ho'opono group in the park where we work with the homeless. And after being on the Big Island to find out with legislature about safe zones for the homeless, he returned home, evidently collapsed. They could not revive him. And so we are holding his family in our prayers, and that celebration of life will be here. It will be at 10 o'clock. We'll do a viewing of the things of his life. At 11 o'clock, we'll have the service. So please come and be with us. It will also be live streamed. And there's a lot of things that have been going on in our country and in our world. I know when I heard about the events in Las Vegas, I was stunned, and as I watched the news coverage of that, we want to hold all the people affected by that. Continue to hold Puerto Rico as they recover, and all those affected by hurricanes, the earthquakes in Mexico, our sister church in Nigeria. And my heart is still very touched by my wife and I were doing some work here. I was upstairs. I heard wheels screeching. I looked out. I saw a car going about 80 miles an hour, driving very dangerously. And then I saw them continue to drive straight in the one-way traffic on Montserrat. And I started saying a prayer for that person. Little did I know that that person immediately after that would make their transition. You know, life can change so quickly. But what we know is that there's never an absence of God. that wherever we are, God is. And all of God is fully present. All that God is here right now. So I invite you, if you would, to join me in this time of pastoral prayer. Take a deep breath and hold all of those people affected in Las Vegas, here in our community, Puerto Rico, Mexico, North Korea, our sister church in Nigeria. We hold all in the loving consciousness of Spirit, knowing there is only one presence and one power, active as our lives and as the universe, God the good, omnipotence. Breathe into that presence as we go into a moment of silence, as we lift all the concerns and intentions of our hearts into this loving presence. We know wherever we are, God is. That wherever our love streamers are, God is. And whatever is going on in our lives, God is. And we know and affirm that God is blessing, anointing this service this morning. Blessing and anointing Kumu Ramsay as he brings the message this day that our hearts need. We open our hearts to the message. We open our hearts to the music. Most of all, we open our hearts to the presence of Spirit, the kingdom of heaven within us. And with gratitude, we say together, and so it is. Amen. And as we go into prayer more deeply, we sing together ancient words.
Holy words, long preserved for our walk in this world. They resound with God's own heart. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Words of life, words of hope, give us strength, help us go. In this world, where'er we roam, ancient words will guide us home. Ancient words ever true, changing me and changing you. We have come with open hearts. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Holy words of our faith, handed down to this age, came to us through sacrifice. Oh, heed the faithful words of Christ. Holy words, long preserved for our walk in this world. They resound with God's own heart. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Ancient words ever true, changing me and changing you. We have come with open hearts. Oh, let the ancient words impart.
On the monitor behind us are the words of the Lord's Prayer. Let us connect with the energy of this and say the Lord's Prayer together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from error. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen and amen.
Ancient words ever true, changing me and changing you. We have come with open hearts. Oh, let the ancient words impart. We have come with open hearts. Oh, let the ancient words impart.
And I invite you to get comfortable in your seats and take in and out a slow, deep breath. As we follow that breath, we follow it into our heart space. If you would like, close your eyes or relax your gaze. And hear the words from the daily word. I relax into the infinite stream of divine life, and I am healed. I relax into the infinite stream of divine life, and I am healed. There is a universal flow of wholeness, an inexhaustible and irrevocable stream of life in which I live, move, and have my being. And as I close my eyes and relax into the remembrance of this truth, I feel the sweet ecstasy of bathing in divine love. For I know the indwelling presence of God is my true identity. As waves of well-being gently wash over me, they draw out any anxiety, sadness, fear, and all beliefs in lack and limitation that have been cluttering my perception. My mind and my heart are restored to the awareness of divine life. Love heals. Love frees me from any suffering that I might have been experiencing in mind, body, or spirit. Love restores me. Life heals me. I am healed. I am healed. And the scripture, Psalm 30, verse 2. O Lord my God, you have healed me. And as we continue in this time of meditation, we focus on knowing that the love within us heals us. The love within us is the presence of God. Our true being is the presence of God. We are the presence of God in action. And with each breath, we go deeper into that heart space, knowing the peace, health, wholeness, abundance, love that God is. As we go into a couple of moments of silence. Infinite love, infinite wisdom, infinite peace, infinite wholeness and health. We welcome you, knowing you are our true nature, knowing that your anointing is upon this service. We open our hearts in gratitude, healing, and in love. and we give thanks. And so it is. Amen.
For every wounded soul, every heart that's broken, for every falling tear, every hope unspoken, for every painful past, every crippling fear. Oh, the healer is here. The healer is here. For every suffering child, every pain and sorrow, for every troubled mind, there is hope for tomorrow. For everyone in need, you're the one God holds so dear. The healer is here. Oh yes, the healer is here. The healer is here, who is found in transformation, seen when we allow release, known to us through love and peace. The healer is here, and by God's love we're healed. The healer is here. The healer is here. Listen in your heart and hear God speak through you. Sing along with us. Heal me. Heal me. I have the power within me. Sets me free. When I feel sickness and the strain, I allow God's love to heal the pain. Cast away sorrows and all shame. Allow the Spirit to know your name. And as for you, it is the same. The healer is here, who is found in transformation, seen when we allow release, known to us through love and peace. The healer is here, and by God's love we're healed. The healer is here. Yes, I know the healer is here. The healer is here. Oh, yes. The healer is here.
Thank you, Rhea. And I just want to say that you're in for a real treat with Kumu Ramsay Taum. He brings an amazing spiritual wealth with him. And I'm already feeling brother with you. Kumu Ramsay. Let's give him a hand.
Well, Reverend Tim, thank you so much. Hello, Mike Kako. Aloha. Oh, mahalo. Thank you. Thanks for having me back. Really. Absolutely. This is a great experience. Every time I get to come back, it gives me an opportunity to do my own reflection and my own study, because it's an inside job. It starts with each of us first. So thank you. How about another hand for Rhea and the orchestra? Wasn't that great? Very timely. I needed some healing myself, so hopefully we'll get there. But thank you. You know, let's see. When I first was invited to speak, this was back in 2014, almost 3 years ago. And as I prepared to be here, I went out and took a walk one morning because I wasn't quite sure what I was going to say. And I really had to ask for guidance. And while I was walking around in Cocoa Head, I live out in Mauna Lua, the development of Hawaii Kai, but it's actually Mauna Lua. And that's the Okole of Waimanalo, by the way, for those of you who don't know that. Because see, that's actually the Ahupua of Waimanalo. Yeah. It's called Mauna Lua, but it's the development of Hawaii Kai. That's for those of us living in Hawaii Kai when we get to Ho'okano, you know, you get to we're still in Waimanalo. But I looked up, and from Waimanalo, I was walking under the shadow, the aka, the shadow of this mountain. And this appeared, this light. And it reminded me that even in the darkest moments, and even in the times when we can't see our way, if we look hard enough and pray, and listen and look, as one kupuna told me, listen. Listen. The messages come. And this light is what hit me that morning. And so I borrow from that moment as I bring it forward, because the message today actually is reminiscent of some of the things we talked about back when I first came in. It seems all those years later, it's still fitting. At the same time, there's an opportunity to add to that message. And so I look forward to what comes out. I never know what's going to come out. So we'll see what happens, right? So the message today is Makahiki, the time of Re. Makahiki, the time of Re. Everyone say Re. If you think of all the words that start with Re, what's your favorite word that starts with Re? Yeah, all of those things. I always like the word recess. But I borrow this from a good friend of mine, Brother Nolan Conjugation. He operates with this concept called the Tao of Re. And so, Brother Nolan, mahalo, 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 but you've inspired me to look at Makahiki through the time of Re. And in the honor of the time of Re, I'm going to recycle my slides. Or reuse, as you would say. But some of them will come back, some of the messages that we shared before, and I'm going to stand here so our wonderful organist can see as well. Not only is Makahiki, how many of you remember or have heard this? Hau'oli Makahiki ho. I mean, we're all Hau'oli Makahiki ho, and we talk about New Year, right? So Makahiki, one of the definitions of the terms we've heard is New Year, right? Year. That's great because it comes at that time of year. So I like to fool some of my students sometimes at which comes first, New Year's Eve or New Year's Day? Which comes first? New Year's Day. And most of us think New Year's Eve, right? But New Year's Day, the first day of the year. New Year's Eve is the last day of the year. You see, even revisit. Yeah? So this concept, Makahiki, is not just a year, but it's also a period. It's a concept. It's a principle. It's something deeper. And today we're going to explore some of that. But for years, as far as years are concerned, we are having a conversation. And yes, I think brother is an appropriate term. About this community. Our community is celebrating 80 years birthday, the new year. Yeah. So first of all, I can say Ha'olim Lahano, happy birthday, welcome, 80 years. Ha'oli, to be happy about that, right? That we're going to see another day, but we're also going to see one another, and that in this rebirthing, this new opportunity, we can renew. Hopefully we start brand new. And so this conversation about Makahiki is about preparing for that new year, because actually your birthday's on the 10th, right? Coming up. But today is the 8th, interesting enough, 88. So I think we're on a roll here. So we'll find out what's going on. But in our conversation the other day, learning about where the family is right now and things that are going on, I think things are looking up. Things are looking up. In fact, one of the elders, the kupuna, my teachers, shared with me is that, when things look down, look up. In a way, when things are looking down, look up. And that is essentially what we all have been gifted with. And why is that an appropriate message for today? I think it's a message all the time. But not only are you looking up and looking forward, but it is indicative of who we are. Our kupuna, our ancestors, those that came before us in this place. There wasn't anything that we did that they did without looking up, looking to the heavens for guidance. Yeah? There are those called kilolani, those who look to the heavens for ho'ailona, signs, whether it was the planets, the stars, the clouds, the wind, the birds, any of those things were indicators of what we should do on the ground. In fact, they subscribed to a system of looking to the heavens to tell us what we did on every single day. So you didn't have to question. So many of us are lost today. We're not sure what to do. And yet, in ancient times, we knew exactly what to do because the heavens guided us. And this wasn't just then. It's now, as we see my friend Nainoa Thompson, who just took us around the world 40,000 miles using the practices of our kupuna. They navigated this little postage stamp around the island called Earth and successfully brought everybody home. That's what's powerful. Everybody came home. And a lot of it is a tribute to the fact that they followed the signs, that they looked up, but they also looked in. And Makahiki is also a time to look in, and we're going to find out more about that here shortly. But mahalo to Nainoa, because here he is showing him looking and taking a measurement. The practice, of course, is called navigation. And so this practice of looking to the heavens is also a way of navigating through our lives, not just on the ocean. And so Makahiki happens to be one of those markers in time that allows us to navigate through our lives and through the motion of the ocean as well as that place on land. And so I'd like to suggest to say that much of the challenges that we have today is because many of us have stepped away from natural time and relying heavily on artificial time. Natural time versus artificial time. And it is the artificial time that seems to impose a lot of the stresses on many of us as we rush here and there and need to take a breath now and then. But as Reverend Tim has told us today, just with 2 or 3 stories of friends and family and even strangers, we're never promised another day. Time is fleeting. Every moment by moment should count. And Makahiki is a time that we count on to help us move forward, prepare ourselves, as well as to be grateful for what has come before us. So natural time and artificial time. In Makahiki, in the artificial time, the system I was telling you about, is there any way we can dim this light here? Perhaps that one, just so our friends in the back can see. Yeah, Maikai. Kaulon na mahina, this notion of following the story of the heavens through the moon, mahina. There are 3 periods. There's a mahina ho'unui, mahina poi poi, and mahina emi. And we're actually in the time of mahina poi poi right now. And by the way, you know, there's an old statement that says when the student appears, the teacher appears. Well, today I want to honor my teacher. She's sitting over here. Everyone please say her. So, you know, you go through life, you never know. There are people you train with, there are people you learn from, there are people that teach you. And so I've been fortunate that there have been many kupuna, like the moon, the kupuna, that has guided us forever. I went on a trip from here to Boston. And the first thing I did went to the ocean, Mahina. Grandmother Moon was there. Doesn't matter what part of the world, our kupuna are always there. Mahalo for being here. So now that the kupuna and teacher is here, I'm perfectly like this. Yeah. The language is important, as she always taught us. And my other kupuna, language, how we speak, what we say what you mean what you say. And when we speak to this notion of Kalana Mahina, what does she say to us? So tonight, we are in the 8th of October. La'au Kulua. 2, the second La'au. Last night was La'au Kahi, the first of the La'au nights. And under this moon, this particular moon, you see this little arrow up here. That's the moon. There are 2 parts of the calendar, one for fishermen and one for farmers. Now, keep in mind, they say we got 2 seasons, a dry season and a wet season. But since you have a farmer and a fisherman, that means we have 4 seasons, right? 2 for the farmermen and 2 for the fishermen. So we have 4 seasons. But what it says is that tonight is a night for fishing. Are you fishermen? Go for it. Okay? It also says tonight or today is a time for planting ulu and maya, but more importantly, not just any plant, but trees. Why is that an important message? Because it's not just about planting small things, it's about planting big things. It's about planting things that will feed into the future. As far as fishing is concerned, think about this, the concept of maka. Everyone say maka. Is in Makahiki, and maka is the eye. But it's not just the eyes or the eyes. It is also in the fishnet, the maka, the little eyes. There's a story about the great teacher. His name was Jesus. And he and his disciples went out on the boat one day and he said, let's go. They said, go where? Out there. And so they started paddling out and they started getting frightened because they're going farther than they've ever been for. And they said, hey, this kind of far, bro. He said, no, keep on going. Go, 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 go. So they kept on going. And finally, when they're out far enough and they're all getting nervous, he said, right here, okay, drop your nets. When they dropped the nets, all of a sudden they felt the boat shaking and all the weight of the net, and they pulled it up, and it was full of fish they hadn't seen before. You know, behind that story is this notion is sometimes in order to see things that we don't normally see, we've got to go a little bit deeper. We've got to look a little into the dark places. Sometimes we have to challenge ourselves to go beyond our comfort zones. Makahiki, this time of change and renewal, sometimes it requires us to do that, to go to these dark places, open our eyes and see something differently. This concept of maka. Right? There's also another concept. And we're celebrating 80 years. 8 in Hawaiian is also valu or hevalu. 8. Everyone say valu. Valu. Maka. Maka valu. Yeah, see, it's like 8 eyes. That's a concept of seeing things at multiple levels. Like the net, multiple eyes, you see things. But when it applies to us, there is the outer eye, the physical being. We have the outer eyes. But we also have an inner being, the inner eye, the inner spirit. So there's 2 eyes on the outside, 2 eyes on the inside. That's makaha, 4 eyes. Yeah? But now I'm standing in front of Ralph. I'm standing in front of Tim. Anytime I'm in front of someone else and we're having a relationship, an exchange, they're my 4 eyes and Ralph's 4 eyes. That's makavalu. There's 8 eyes looking at this situation. There are 8 ways of because his physical eye sees something, my physical eye sees something. I brought with me all of the thoughts that I was taught and trained, and yet the spiritual part sees something different. So the concept here is not just to see, but also to listen. Right? It's to listen. Because it's not always on the surface. Right? We have to throw our nets deeper sometimes. And maybe we catch something there. So that's part of it. But the ulu tree, for instance, on the mahi'ai side, the farmer, the ulu means also to rise up, to grow, to lift. And so rather than just planting something for us to eat today, there's a saying, plant ulu and feed generations to come. So as you celebrate your birthday of 80 years, what do you plan to plant today? How deep will you throw your net? And will we be able to feed future generations in the spirit of unity and lokai? This is the opportunity for us to think about those things. But in addition to this, the month Mahoi Hope. Hope meaning to retreat, go backwards, look the other way. But it says this is the weather when it's rainy and windy. That's kind of happened the last couple of days. A lot of wind, a lot of rain. Isn't it amazing that our kupuna had named this thing so long and it's still the same? Continue over and over. This consistency. The consistency. In a time of uncertainty, what do we need? Some kind of consistency. So, kaulan na mahina, we can look to natural time often to guide us. And sometimes it's a little different. But for the most part, we have Mahoi Hope. There was a Mahoi Mua just before this. Mua Hope. Now that's important to me. But before I move on, this is also the time or the month when the sugarcane blossoms. And one of the mo'olelo behind the sugarcane blossoms, remember I said when things look down, look up? Well, our kapuna also knew that if you're down in the ocean and you wanted to know what was going on in the sea, you look to the mountains. And so there's this thing called puako. Everyone say puako. That's the sugarcane blossom when it tassels. When the sugarcane tassels and turns a little bright red, it's time to catch the he'e. This is he'e season. Right? So interesting, yeah? Even in the daily life and activities, you may not know, you cannot see below the surface of the water, but if you look to the mountains, it will guide you. Look up, and you'll know what's going on below. Interesting how that all matches, yeah? Look up, and you know what's going on below. And so we mahalo these kupuna because it's not just that. There's so many things, the relationships of what's happening on land and what's happening in the sea. But it acknowledges the relationship of sky, land, and sea. This triune relationship. It's all part of who we are and getting to know. And the Makahiki is very much a part of that. But so this, when we talk about mua and mahope, it reminds me of this term. Wa Ma Mua, Wa Ma Hope. Join me and say that. Wa Ma Mua, Wa Ma Hope. Yeah, it's funny because it's counterintuitive. Ma Hope for some is back, while Ma Mua is forward. But when you look at this and take it apart, here's the moment in the present. The time before and the time after. But the time before was yesterday. See that? The time after is tomorrow. Wa Ma Mua, Wa Ma Hope. So the concept says is that tomorrow is in the past and the past is in tomorrow. I'm inspired by the past. I honor the past in the present in order to prepare for the future. I honor my ancestors, my kupuna, my teachers, my family, those that came before. Good, bad, or indifferent, we are them. They are us. We are our kupuna. And when I don't honor them and I step out of line, they cease to exist. And when they cease to exist, they have no meaning because I no longer am in line. And the mo'opuna, the next generation, they have nothing to look back to when I step out of line. Makahiki is a part of the line. When I step back in, my ancestors have meaning and so do my descendants. Ma Mua Mahope, getting in line. And Makahiki is a time for alignment. This is when things begin to align with nature. So here you are, Ma Mua. looking back to yesterday and the things and the lessons of the past. But at the same time, we are excited about Ma Hope, looking into the future. And when the two faces come together, we become whole. Just like this, a full cup. Huh? And interestingly enough, that's reminiscent of aloha. Aloha aku, aloha mai. To give and to receive. They're all connected. We do not separate aloha from any of the things that we do. And so Makahiki is also a time of aloha. And so let's explore that even more. Makahiki season, a time to celebrate. But it comes just at this other time, very important to us. You know, as I said, the two seasons. The two seasons are Kau and Ho'oilo. This is the wet season and the dry season. So we're coming out of the dry season and we're going into the wet season. Interesting enough, spiritually, some of us are coming out of a dry season. Yeah. Now is the time, Makahiki, to replenish and to renew, to allow ourselves to percolate in the spirit, and to allow that to move us as our dryness, the things that we've forgotten, to begin to plant new seeds, but also to weed the old stuff that needs to get out. These are all the things that take place in this season called Makahiki, right? So the dry season to the wet season, we're on the cusp of that right now. But before we can talk about that, I want to honor the fact that this was such an important time, that this concept was so important, that our kupuna actually built monoliths to it. We built heiau, we built temples, we built huge clocks, if you would. How many of you know that big round one in England? You know the big round one everybody goes to see? Yeah. There's ours, but ours square. See, this is called Hapaiali'i. Hapaiali'i was just recently restored by Kamehameha schools, and Kamehameha, I should say, and this is on the property that at one time was Kamehameha's home, his fish pond. But what's interesting is that I happened to be there the day after it was completely reconstructed, and some of the pohaku, those in here in particular, this is the summer solstice. And after hundreds of years of disrepair, to see the sun set between those two stones exactly how it was supposed to be was absolutely amazing. That till this day, all this time, the sun continued to set exactly where it's supposed to be. The question was, where were we all this time? Yeah? And so by reconstructing this, it allows us to go back to natural time, to bring it forward, not back, but bring it forward, so that we can begin to be guided again by these changes, these consistencies. When we live in a world that is so uncertain, there are some things that we can count on. Yeah? When things look down, look up. And so what this particular machine does, it honors the fact that these four deity, Kane, Ku, Lono, and Kanaloa, travel from Kahiki, and they come up and they go back. And each time they're switching places. When the sun sets on this stone, on this stone, on this stone, and on this stone, it travels and sets right on it. And it's an amazing thing to see. The equinoxes and the solstices, right here. Hundreds and hundreds of years still going. Certainty, something that we can count on, right? And so these are the times. So as Kane leaves, Ku comes. Ku leaves, Lono comes. And Makahiki happens to be the time of Lono. By the way, Reverend Tim, you did a great job last week. I'm going to build on what he talked about last week. Excellent. Right? Helping us introduce us to Makahiki. And so the deity, the god known as Lono, Heorono for some, is known for fertility, agriculture, rainfall, music, and above all, peace. Peace. And we really want to build on that, especially at this time. Yes, it's important to be able to create anew, to be fertile, to work with the land, and rely on the gifts of heaven. And we can sing about that. But it's always so much better when we can do it in peace. Now, unfortunately, many of us have defined peace as the absence of war. I'd like to offer that it's much more than that. It is much more than just the absence of war. But we're going to get into that here shortly as we acknowledge the fact that during the time of Makahiki, there's usually 4 months. And depending on where we are in the procession of the heavens, sometimes it begins in November and ends in March or earlier in January, or February. But here are the 4 general months. Now let me say, I didn't say this in the first session, but each island has a different calendar according to the resources and the relationship with those places. All right? So this just happens to be one of them. Ikua. We're now entering the time of Ikua, the loud voice. Each one of these months has a characteristic that guides our behavior. For instance, Ikua is the loud voice, which is translated as the thunder and lightning that we hear in the mountains. If you haven't heard it yet, you'll be hearing it soon. Okay? Ikua is not just a month, but it's also a period, and the period of the next several months of Velehu, Makali'i, and Kaelo. These months each have a characteristic. Velehu, the time of the sifting of the ashes, that's when people started coming in again. It's getting cold, it's getting wet, the family comes together, Ohana sits around the fire, and they begin to stoke the fires, get warm, get close again. Because during the summer, we're all out either doing war or planting or fishing, or we're not in the hale anymore. So during this time, we begin to retreat. We start to come back in, and we start to play around the fire. Then there's this Makali'i, which Reverend Tim talked about. This is the time when the Pleiades returns. This is the time, the little eyes, they call it, li'i, 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 the small eyes of the Pleiades. So it's now telling us to look, which is the next thing we'll talk about. And then Kaelo, that's kind of like January when everything's wet and soggy. You know, when your shoes get all wet, the limu grows on it if you leave it in the closet too long. Yeah. Kaelo, January, soggy, slosh, slosh, slosh. Interesting how our kupuna were able to define these things with single words, concepts, and principles. But here's the power of this. Because these 4 months of Makahiki starts Ikua. Here's a demonstration. If we pay attention to the message, Ikua, the time of the loud voice, thunder and lightning. This happens to be a time of cleansing. A time of cleansing. Because this is when the thunder and lightning is happening up mountains. Anybody who is paying attention knows you don't go hiking when it's thundering and lightning, right? When it's raining hard. And yet the fire department still send helicopters to get people right now to not paying attention. You know, makapo, close the eye. You got to go. Ho'olohi, pay attention and listen. But nonetheless, they go. So this time of cleansing, everything that died and fell off the trees during fall is now lying on the ground. And thanks to the water, the rains, the ua, it's all washing out to the sea. The land is being cleansed. Well, see, it's not just the land being cleansed, because the ocean has to be cleansed too. That's balance. Right? That's pono. We have to make sure it's pono. So if the rain is washing and cleansing the mountains, who's cleansing the ocean? The mano, the sharks. These are the cleaners of the ocean. And they know, oh, ikua, time to eat. Let's go. And they all come swimming to the shore. Natural time. And it's the time that's been going on and on and on. And then we have these questions. They go, why are the sharks biting people now? What's wrong with those sharks biting people now? They've only been doing it 1,000 years or more. What's wrong with those sharks? Natural time. The sharks have known this forever and ever and ever. But in artificial time, those of us in the visitor industry, we invite all our friends from the mainland. Cold, come over here, warm, go swim with the sharks. So we should say having a shark encounter. That's all marketing. Okay? But you see what happens is when we start neglecting or ignoring these natural time messages. So our kupuna were smart in that way. And hopefully we can learn from that. And that's why the surfers didn't go out too far. So now there's Makali'i. So you have this time, and Makali'i is when the 7 sisters arrive, the little eyes. But it is also considered the time to clear the patches for next planting. To clear the patches for next planting. What does that sound like to you? Cleansing. What's that? Fires, that's part of it. But it's about cleansing. Right? Clearing the patches, weeding, taking out the old and planting new. This is the time to renew. To do the weeding, looking into the closets, looking into those deep, dark places within us, and pulling those things out and making room for the new stuff. Oftentimes we get so attached to what's old and what we know, and are oftentimes concerned and fearful of what we don't know. And while we invite new stuff into our lives, we hold on to the old stuff and don't make room for the new stuff. Imagine moving into a new house because you had termites in the old one. And you bring all the old furniture from the old house. Yeah, you get termites in your new house. How did that happen? Right? Sometimes we have to let go in order to enjoy the new. That doesn't mean we don't appreciate it. Ole. This is mahalo. I'm grateful for all these things that we're given. But now we need to open to mahalo the next gifts that come to us. Yeah? And that's what this is, makali'i. Now the word li'i is small. And if you look at the word makahiki, there's another word root in there called iki. Everyone hold your baby finger up. Say iki. Yeah, small, little, their little finger. Iki. Mana mana lima iki. Okay? They're almost synonymous. The little eyes in this time of makahiki, they're synonymous. Makali'i, the eyes or shoots of the yams. The time to clear the patches for next planting. Interesting about potatoes. What do potatoes have? Eyes. Yeah. And I just think it's fascinating how our kupuna could make these connections. Why have we lost them? Why aren't our eyes open to these things? That's so simple that we can go back to these. So maka, to look, to listen. So with these concepts, these higher connections back to this historical time, I'd like to offer that in contemporary time, we call Makahiki the time of re. One more time, everyone say re. It is the time to retreat. It is a time to reflect. It is a time to relax, as our prayer offered us earlier. It is a time to restore, and it is a time to renew. If you look at each of the months and the things that were going on in the time, it is the time of each of these things. All we need to do is redefine, refocus, right, and replenish. Reframe. We just shift the way our lenses are because the time is still good. But these are the aspirations. The aspirations to retreat, reflect, relax, and restore, as well as renew. What are the behaviors? The behaviors are to step back, look within, let go, heal, and begin again. This is the time of Makahiki, right? And if we explore the word even deeper, Makahiki, we're going to find that Makahiki has so many other words, so many other concepts. And I mahalo Auntie Pelahi Paki. I've mentioned her to you before. She's another kupuna who helped to open my eyes. She pulled the curtain back. And she reminded me that there's a root, from root to fruit. And when you understand the root, you better understand the fruit. Everyone say ah. E. In her tradition, ah is that heat, that fire. E is the concept of liquid, water, coolness. And you put ah and e together, you get ai. Ai is food. Food is steam. Food is energy. Makahiki is the fire and water, the time between the hot period and the cold period, the dry and the wet. In the word makahiki, these are the two fundamental root spirits, ah and e. Everybody say ma, ka, hi, ki. Each one also has its own meaning, its own definition, its own emphasis and influence. So for instance, if we take the word makahiki and say it this way, everyone say ma, kahiki. Yeah, that's a concept of going in, a place of going. Ma kai ma uka ma vaina, as in, the directional. This is a direction of kahiki, right? So this is the concept that makahiki is a time when we look to kahiki, but not just Tahiti. And we're going to find that out too. Everyone say makahiki. Makahiki. Now, two words. So this is a concept of looking to that arrival. Hiki is a concept of arrival. It's not just, yeah, I get it, it's good, it works. But hiki is also the time of arrival. So this is when makali'i arrives. Interesting how the words. So there are more and more root words. Each time you break down, everyone say kahi. The first place where our kupuna comes from. Some people believe the Pleiades is where our ancestors are from. The home of the ancestors. Everyone say aka. The shadow or the mirror. And what do you do in the mirror? You reflect. And within makahiki is this concept of aka. And of course, as we already talked about, iki. Ahi is the fire, the heat that we sit around and rekindle the fire of relationships. All during the time of Makahiki. Makahiki, the land of the ancestors. Some of the stories talk about that Kahiki is not just that one place that most of us know on the map. But Kahiki is the ancestral place. It's any place but here. It's where they came from, where we come from. It's a deeper place. Some say the place of Po, the place of darkness. And from that place of darkness comes light. And from Kahiki, we get to know this. We get this fruit of their labors, of our kupuna. All right? There's also this other concept of kahiki that talks about the layers between us and the heavens. When you look out to the horizon, that is known as kahiki moi. And each one of these lists, kahiki ku, that just above it. And each one of these spaces begins to talk about the rising and the different levels. And finally it gets to this last one that talks about the kahiki that is right above us. Directly above, the place that we connect, the place that we are now one with all. This is the divine spot. This last one. That's kahiki. So kahiki is this connection. So when we say makahiki, makahiki, we're looking for the arrival, the connection of this thing. Yeah? So makahiki. As Reverend Tim told us last week, there are different phases during the makahiki celebration. You talked about playing games. That's part of the second phase, the hula phase. Celebration of dancing, feasting, playing games. But before that, there's also the mahalo. This is the part that we give ho'okupu. Give thanks to the gifts that we've been given. The ha, the vai, the i, the place that we live in, one another, and everything. But you don't just give thanks, you always give forward. And the final section is wa'ahau. This is the time of giving forward. You might call this tithing. In other words, this is the time that we invest. We just don't take, but we also give. There's a tendency for us to use words from the continent such as give and take. All too often, we take what's given, and we just keep on taking. Aloha is about give and receive. And in makahiki, we give thanks to what we received, but then we give forward to the next generation. This is aloha. This is the concept of makahiki. So as we enter this time of makahiki, the best way to capture it all is to say it's about ho'oponopono. It's really about making right. It is during this time that we make the land right, the sea right, our lives right, our relationships right. And thanks to Auntie Morna, Nalamaku, Simeona, and others who have continued teaching these traditions, we now know that there is a way to be realigned. This is an alignment. Makahiki is a time to realign ourselves with our places, with our resources, with our families. This is ponno. Everyone say ponno. This is balance, appropriate, correct, proper. These are all these larger conditions, but it's a spiritual principle. It's not just standing in line. Imagine when things get in line like this, boy, a lot of things can happen. But pono also means we work together. The big guy in the middle doesn't control everything. The little guy is just as important as the big guy. The new person is just as important as the last. We're all part of the same family. At some point in time, we have to let go, as Makahiki does, and we have to do the weeding. Because there's a powerful word in there. Everyone say maluhia. Yeah, remember we said Makahiki is also a time of peace. And to really understand peace, I think we look at this word, maluhia. Malu, to cover. The shade, to be under cover of something, right? To be protected, if you would. When you break maluhia out, look at all the different words it means. It means quiet, restful, stillness, security, safety, as well as peace. But it's also about solemn and tranquility. That's maluhia. It's not just peace, the absence of war. It's a condition where all of these things exist. Makahiki is a time we put our weapons away. We bring out the music. We bring out the games. And we bring out the song. This is the time to laugh, as well as to hug and to love. To be at peace. There's a riddle in Hawaiian, thanks to Auntie Morna again, that talks about this 3 levels. Ke kala o uka, ke kala o waina, ke kala o kai. One talks about the mountains, one talks about the midlands, the other talks about the sea. But embedded in that, it's talking about the spirit, the body, the mind. This is talking about the different levels of who we are, our identities. And at some point in time, we must release that which is blocking our thoughts, our hearts, and our spirits from connecting with others. E kalamayau. Please forgive me. This is the concept of kala. And we've visited this before. Some of you may remember this notion of releasing. That's what this is, e kalamai. To let it go, such as words of kala, ho'o kala, hui kala, kalana. Notice the kala, 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 kala. That's the color of the day, kala. It's a release. But we do know letting go isn't so easy. Letting go is hard. But sometimes it's harder holding on. Some of us just can't, holding on can be just as hard sometimes. Sometimes it's just easier just to let go. But it's called an attachment. Each of us has one. I may be aware, but I'm not immune. We all have our attachments. And at some point in time, Makahiki is a time for us to let go of the heva, let go of the eha, the pain and the anxiety, other things, because we can drag it through life all we want. We can carry it. But not only is it holding us back, it holds others back. Makahiki was a time to let go, to oki, to cut. And the term that we use is ho'oki. But here's a nice statement from somebody you'll recognize. The weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. Makahiki is a time for us to dig deeper, to find that strength within, to oki, to let go, to cut. Break the chains that hold us back as a family, as a community, as individuals. Begin to look to the best in each of us, ourselves and those around us. This is an inside job. As much as we wait for makali'i, really it's about looking in to the little eyes within each of us and to recognize that we are really iki. We are li'i. We are very small when the cosmos is as large as it is. But we become larger when we get hand to hand and work together. In fact, let's demonstrate this. Everyone reach over and grab the hands next to the person next to you. Hand to hand if you can. All right? Hand to hand. Got it? See, this is what we do in Makahiki. We hold hands. And when you're holding hands and sharing love, you can't fight. Choke the guy in front of you. Kind of hard. Right? When you're holding everybody back and when you're holding hands and you're allowing people to work together, the last thing you're going to do is choke the person next to you or the person in front of you. Makahiki is a time for us to hold hands. Makahiki is a time for us to come together. So in closing, these last thoughts, right? Ho'okala, we talked about this. So part of the kalamai, the kala, letting go, forgive, let go. And sometimes in ho'oponopono, there's the word o'o, pono, ono. All of these little words, the adverbs, the verbs, the adjectives, they tell you what, where, when, and how. O'o is to dig. Sometimes you have to dig a little deeper into deep, dark places to find that light we're talking about. Yeah? And so it's a time to kalana, to let go, to release. Because if you're holding on, you can't fill. If your hands are closed, you can't fill it. We have to open and let it go. And in doing so, hopefully we do so with the spirit of mana'o lana. This is the concept of hope, which is always supported by a mana'o o ya'i'o, faith. It is with hope, faith, and of course love, aloha, that we can unify and become one as a family. This is the time of Makahiki. It's not just a time of games, but it's a time of reflection. It's a time to dig in, a time to let go, a time for aloha. 2 words. Everyone say ho'aka. Next word, ho'aka. Yeah, see, interesting enough, when we can do all the things we just said, this is the time to shine. When that inner light comes out from that dark place and allows us to see one another in our full glory. And in doing so, we can take joy, the le'a, the happiness of one another's presence. Because we are, as Reverend Tim said, where God is. And where God is, so we are. And it is in that time we can laugh with joy that we are in the presence of something so divine, so great. This is the time of Makahiki, to look within. So let me close by acknowledging and recognizing that this month you recognize divine zeal. Zeal is the affirmative impulse of existence. Its command is to go forward. And in Hawaii, olelo, we say holomua. Everyone say holomua. Because holomua means improvement. We do so to improve and get better. It also says progress. Not just stop, but progress. Keep on going. But most of all, holomua means go forward. Aloha, aloha, holomua, holomua. Aloha. Thank you.
On times we had, I hope you smile and know that through the good and through the bad, God was on our side, and nobody could hold us down. We claimed the brightest star, and we came so far, and so we won't forget. Whenever you remember times gone by, remember how we held our heads so high when all the world was there for us, and we believed that we could touch the sky. Whenever you remember God is there, remember how we reached that dream together. Whenever you remember, when you think back on all we've done, I hope you're proud when you look back and see how far we've come. It was our time to shine, and nobody could hold us down. They thought they'd see us fail, but we stood so tall. No, we won't forget. Whenever you remember times gone by, remember how we held our heads so high when all this world was there for us, and we believed that we could touch the sky. Remember how remember how we reached that dream together. Whenever you remember, we claimed the brightest star, and we came so far. You know we showed them all then, and we won't forget. Whenever you remember times gone by, remember how we held our heads up high when all the world was there for us, and we believed that we could touch the sky. Remember when you get, I'll be there too. Remember how we reached that dream together. Whenever you remember, whenever you remember.
Thank you, Raina. Oh, it comes time for one of my favorite parts of the service, when we get to celebrate abundance, circulate abundance, express in a tangible way our gratitude for all the ways in which we are blessed. I am so blessed. Once in a while on Facebook, I have to share with all my wonderful friends in Kansas, I love you, and share pictures of the rainforest and the beach, and they send me messages back like, oh, you poor baby. We are so blessed in many, many ways. Our family, our spiritual family. This sacred place that we are celebrating is a place that helps us to grow and be nurtured spiritually. And so it's an energy exchange to want to celebrate with this loving Ohana. To celebrate by giving and tithing, which is part of this sacred season that we are celebrating. So as you place your gifts, your tithe over your hearts, take a deep breath and repeat after me. I am blessed. I am prosperous. I circulate my good with gratitude, with joy, and with thanks. And so it is. Amen. Amen.
this morning, something wasn't right. My poor head was a-throbbing 'cause I tossed and turned all night. This unfamiliar feeling, it shook me up inside. The truth it was revealing that a part of me had died. So I called my higher self. She gave me the bad news. Your life is just too good. You lost the right to sing the blues. That broken down old Chevy, it was eating me alive. I visualized a Lexus, now it's parked up in my drive. That man of mine, that scoundrel, that rotten low-down bum, I transformed him into a love guy with a sizable trust fund. Now everywhere I look, I get confronted with the blues. When life gets this darn good, you lost the right to sing the blues. You can sing the blues if you can't pay your rent. And you can sing the blues if all your money has been spent. How can I sing the blues? I ain't got no excuse. When I'm driving in my Porsche on the way to my masseuse. So you won't hear me wailing late at night in some smoky bar. And you won't hear me crying tears into my old guitar. I'll be cleaning out my chakras and chasing bad karma away. I'm fluffing up my aura, darling, that could take all day. Now that I'm enlightened, I just got to spread the news. When life gets this darn good, you lost the right to sing the blues. Play the blues, girl. Woo! But not finding even one reason to complain. My stars are in alignment. My house is all feng shui. I'm filled with peace and harmony. My bills have all been paid. I let go of the struggle. You know I paid my dues. When life gets this darn good, you lost the right. I said it. To sing the blues. Woo! Oh, yeah! Love you all. Thank you.
That's right. I know I'm in the right place when I hear the blues. All right. Thank you, and thank you, Rhea and band and Alethea. Let's give them a hand. Thank you. As we lift our hands to bless this offering, we bless it in the consciousness, knowing it represents infinite substance, of which there is no lack or limitation, celebrating ourselves as the light, the life, the presence of God in this world, and we are grateful. And together we say, and so it is. Amen, amen. All right. Thank you all for being here today. At 1 o'clock, we will have a community talk. We'll be looking at 6 basic questions, formulating ideas about for what reason is Unity Church of Hawaii here? What is our true business? Based on that, how do we truly behave? Questions like that. You want to be a part of it. Mary and Juliet will be leading our facilitating our discussion. I'm going to be joining in on that, so please feel free to join us and join a friendly hand. And if you're new here, feel free to have an usher bring you up to the front. I'd love to meet you. It's such a joy to have all of you here. Let's join a friendly hand and sing our peace song and Aloha Oe.